I caught my HOA president reaching through my kitchen window, her arms stretched inside my house, fingers closing around my car keys like she'd just won a prize. She smiled when she saw me watching, already dialing 911, convinced the police were about to put me in handcuffs. What she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly imagine, was that in the next hour, her entire little kingdom was going to collapse. Let me slow this down, because none of this started with broken windows or stolen cars. It started the way HOA nightmares usually do, with a knock. Sharp, loud, way too confident for a quiet Saturday morning. I was standing in my kitchen, coffee half-made, keys sitting on the counter by the window, sunlight hitting the metal just right. I remember thinking it was going to be an ordinary day. Groceries, maybe yard work, nothing dramatic. Then came the knock. Not a neighborly knock, the kind that assumes authority before you even open the door. When I looked through the window, I saw Carol Henderson. Everyone in the neighborhood knew Carol. Late 60s, silver hair pulled into a tight bun like it was part of a uniform clipboard pressed to her chest, measuring tape hanging from her wrist like a badge. She was the HOA president, and she wore that title the way some people wear a gun, always visible, always ready. I opened the door before she knocked again. "Good morning, Carol," I said, keeping my voice neutral. Calm, polite. She didn't return the greeting. "Mr. Williams," she said, already extending a yellow slip of paper toward me. "Your vehicle is in violation of HOA parking regulations, Section 4.7. I took the paper and glanced at it, then looked past her at my car. Black sedan, parked in my driveway, the same way it had been parked for years. "Can you show me the violation?" I asked. She smiled, not a friendly smile, a thin one, the kind that enjoys the moment. She marched over to my driveway, snapped open her measuring tape like a magician revealing a trick, and crouched down behind my car. "Right here," she said, pointing dramatically. "Your rear bumper extends 3 inches beyond the acceptable boundary." 3 inches. On my own driveway. There weren't even painted boundary lines. Nothing, just concrete and her imagination. But what caught my attention wasn't the absurdity of the measurement. It was her eyes. As she stood up, her gaze drifted past me, through my kitchen window, and locked onto the counter. On my keys. She lingered there a second too long. Something cold settled in my stomach. I'd dealt with difficult people before. I'd learned that when someone starts testing boundaries, it's rarely about the rule they're citing. It's about power. And Carol wasn't looking at my car anymore. She was studying my house. I pulled out my phone. "Do you mind if I take a photo of the citation just for my records?" Her smile twitched. She took a small step back but nodded. "Of course." I snapped the picture, made sure her face was in the frame. Experience had taught me documentation mattered. "You should correct this before my next inspection," she said casually. "The HOA has enforcement measures for ongoing violations." "Enforcement measures," I repeated. "Lines. Legal action. Temporary vehicle confiscation." That word hung in the air. Confiscation. HOAs don't have that authority. Not even close. But Carol said it like she believed it. Or like she was counting on me not knowing better. "I see," I said. She left shortly after, satisfied, confident, already planning her next move. I stood in my doorway for a long moment after she walked away. The citation was nonsense, but that wasn't what bothered me. It was the way she'd looked inside my house. The way her eyes had calculated, measured, decided. So I made a choice. I left my keys exactly where they were, visible through the window, and I made sure my phone was ready to record. The rest of the morning was quiet. Too quiet. Around noon, I saw Carol stroll past my house, slowly. She pretended to admire the landscaping, but her head turned just enough to peer inside. She came back again an hour later. By the third pass, I knew this wasn't coincidence. I set my phone to record and positioned it by the window. If she was going to cross a line, I wanted proof. And she did. That afternoon, I watched her walk straight up to my kitchen window. She cupped her hands around the glass to block the glare and pressed her face close, eyes scanning the counter until they landed on the keys. Then she tested the screen. Once, gently. Then harder. I didn't confront her. I didn't move. I just recorded. She stepped back, looked around, then leaned in again, studying the latch like she was planning a return. That night I got a text from an unknown number. "Vehicle violation must be corrected within 24 hours. Failure to comply will result in enforcement action. Final warning. I stared at the message, then at my keys on the counter. Something told me tomorrow wasn't going to be subtle. Sunday morning I woke up before dawn. Habit. Coffee in hand, eyes on the window. The neighborhood was quiet, most people still asleep. Then I heard it. The scrape. Metal against metal. Someone was at my window. I moved slowly, peering through the curtain, and my blood ran cold. Carol stood there holding a telescoping pole with a hook taped to the end. A homemade tool. She'd widened the gap in the screen just enough to slip it through. She was fishing for my keys. I hit record. The hook snagged the keyring on the second try. When she pulled them free, her face lit up with triumph. She examined each key like she was inventorying evidence. Rage surged through me, hot, immediate. But I swallowed it. Let her dig. I opened the front door. "Carol," I said calmly, "I believe you have something that belongs to me." She jumped, then straightened, clutching my keys like a shield. "Mr. Williams, your vehicle has been impounded by the HOA for persistent violations." "Impounded," I repeated. "From inside my house." "I am authorized," she said sharply. "Section 12.4. That section didn't exist, and even if it did, it wouldn't justify breaking into a home. "You broke into my house and stole my property," I said. "Return my keys." She laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, I don't think you want to involve the police," she said. "I've documented your hostility, your confrontational behavior. An elderly woman doing her civic duty doesn't need to be threatened." There it was, the flip. I felt something crack inside me then. A brief, ugly thought. What if she's right? What if no one believes me? For a moment, just a moment, I felt tired, worn down. I thought about how easy it would be to just let it go, pay whatever fine she made up, avoid the fight, let her win. That's how people like her survive. Not because they're right, but because they exhaust you. But then my phone buzzed. A text from my neighbor. "Is everything okay? I saw someone at your window." Witnesses. I took a breath. "Return my keys," I said. "Now." She didn't. Instead, she walked away with them. An hour later, I watched her get into my car. My car. She started the engine. I stepped out from behind the tree phone, held up recording everything. "What do you think you're doing?" I asked. "Relocating your vehicle to an enforcement staging area," she said, like this was normal. "You stole my keys. You're committing vehicle theft." She put the car in reverse. "I have authority." And then she drove away. 20 minutes later, she called me. "Your car is being held pending compliance. Fines are due. Storage fees accrue daily." She was ransoming my own car. That was the moment the doubt disappeared. I called 911. Not as anything special, just as a citizen. "Someone stole my car," I said. "I have video." The sirens arrived fast. So did Carol. She walked up to my door, clipboard in hand, ready to lecture me again until she saw the officers. They cuffed her in my driveway. When she screamed, "If I'd known who you were," I showed my badge. Her face collapsed. The police didn't cheer. The neighbors didn't either. They just watched as the woman who'd terrorized them for years was put into the back of a squad car. And as she disappeared down the street, I realized something simple. Power only works when people believe in it, and the moment it's challenged, it crumbles. Abuse thrives in silence, but it never survives the truth.